Hi boys and girls, welcome back to chapter 11 of I, Freddy. Feeling hollow, kid? Asked Mr. John. I wasn't sure I understood him correctly. To be on the safe side, I scampered over to my feeding place and sat up and begged. Mr. John nodded and went out. Sure enough, a few moments later, he came back with some food. It was precisely my usual mixture. That was welcome in one way, but less welcome in another. Why? Because there still weren't any mealworms. It would have been great simply to be able to let Mr. John know this. I could have also let him know that I was interested in his books, but had absolutely no intention of nibbling them, and that he might be able to help me get the books I wanted off the shelf, because I could foresee a few problems arising if I were to try by myself. And that, there were so many things I could have told him. Suddenly, what struck me as my main priority was this. I had to get in touch with Mr. John. Except that I didn't have the faintest idea how to do so. Mr. John had gone next door again. Enrico and Caruso were obviously being fed because I could hear them whistling. Then Sir William started purring, which presumably meant that he was being fed as well. Mr. John came back into the study. I saw as he passed the bookshelves that he was carrying a tray with a coffee pot and a cup on it and several apples lying beside them. He put the tray on the big desk that stood against the wall besides the window. I had seen this during my tour of inspection with Sir William, but only as a towering structure from below. I now noticed that it was piled high with books. Mr. John sat down at the desk. I naturally expected him to pick up a pencil and start writing. Not single words or short sentences like Sophie. No, he would surely translate whole books into English. But Mr. John didn't reach for a pencil. Turning to a smaller, lower table beside him, he picked up something that seemed quite heavy and deposited it on his desk. A machine, from what I could tell. I could make out a sort of roller, black at the edges and white in the middle, but most of the contraption appeared to consist of a lot of rough, round keys arranged in rows, like steps. Mr. John opened a book and put it down beside the machine. Then he sat looking at it for a while, quite motionless. Suddenly he raised his hands, stuck out both forefingers, and brought them down on the machine. His fingers landed on the keys. Some lever shot up, and a series of loud, unpleasant clattering sounds rang out. He repeated this procedure a number of times, then stared at the open book again. What on earth was he doing? I guess he was translating, but I confess I observed his behavior for a long time and with total incomprehension. The truth didn't dawn on me until he reached into the machine, pulled out a sheet of paper, and held it up in front of his eyes as if reading. Of course he was reading, and then I got it. Mr. John had been writing. He didn't use a pencil to write with like Sophie, but a machine. In order to write with it, you simply had to press the keys down. Humans did this with their fingers, but any kind of weight would do. The weight of a golden hamster, for instance. I could then write. It was like a gate being flung open before my eyes. Looking through it, I seemed to see a road that would take me on a fantastic journey to a bright and glorious country in the distance, the Promised Land. I thought suddenly to myself, there in the distance lay the Promised Land of Assyria. I couldn't tell exactly what it looked like, not yet, but one thing was certain. It would bear no resemblance to great-grandmother's imaginings. Well, so much for daydreams. Present reality was less bright and glorious. In fact, it became more somber still. The longer I watched Mr. John at his typewriter and saw how he not only pressed the keys down, but positively punched them with his fingers, the more I realized that I could never manage to write that way with my weight alone. To make the levers clatter, I would have had to land on the keys from a height of at least 3 feet, not to mention the difficulty of hitting the right key at the right time. I needed help. And that I could only get from Sir William. I had to wait until nightfall. Mr. John spent all day working on his translation. Once or twice Sir William sauntered in, jumped up on the desk, and settled down among the books, purring loudly, only to disappear once more into the next room. He avoided looking in my direction and behaved as if I didn't interest him at the least, presumably because he didn't want to alarm Mr. John. When evening came, Mr. John gathered up his books, stowed them in his briefcase, and left the apartment. I later discovered that he not only translated books, but also gave private lessons in German. I pried open my cage door in no time. Getting down to ground level took considerably longer. Even when not in a rage, however, I managed to mountaineer, paw over paw, from shelf to shelf. I thanked my lucky stars. I'd always kept myself in shape with the gym equipment. But the study was dark by the time I finally made it to the floor. Having memorized the route to the door, I reached the next room comparatively quickly. For some reason, I had thought that finding Sir William there would present no problem. No such luck. I ran this way and that, pausing now and then to listen. Whenever he wasn't purring, however, Sir William evidently made no sound at all. I had his scent in my nostrils, of course, but that was too universal to enable me to locate him. Enrico and Caruso were only too easy to locate, on the other hand, but I'd be darned if I was going to ask them for their help. That was why I didn't call Sir William's name. I knew only too well what the result would be. In the end, I had no choice. Sir William. At first I spoke softly, hoping he was somewhere near me. No answer. Sir William. A little louder, but still no answer. Sir William! That did it. Hark! Hark! Enrico cried. I heard a voice, a calling in the dark. Ah, yes, said Caruso. Methinks it was a hamster in distress. He wants Sir William, or do my ears deceive me? And we alone can help you. Fred, believe me, only if you are polite. If not, good riddance and good night. They relapsed into silence. No laughter, nothing. So they could be quiet as mice if they chose. I was loath to admit it, but I was impressed by that ad-lib performance of theirs. It seemed that even their undisciplined minds could bear fruit occasionally. All the same, I was careful not to make a sound. I refused to fall into their trap. They wanted to involve me in something that wasn't my cup of tea. Hamsters didn't hunker down in pea-sodden litter and laze their lives away. On the other hand, I was anxious to find Sir William. Where could he be? Not all that far away, surely. Should I call him again? No, those guinea pigs would laugh at themselves silly. But there was no alternative. I had to take the bull by the horns. I had to confront the guinea pigs in their den. My eyes were now so used to the darkness, I could see their cage. I drew a deep breath and darted over to it. Once there, I drew myself up, blew out my cheeks, and emitted a snarl. And they fell over backwards. They simply fell flat on their backs, overcome with fright, and just lay there. Yes, guinea pigs may be impudent individuals, but they've got no guts. The sight of a combat-ready hamster had reduced those two to silence. Or almost, I should add, because the power of speech didn't desert them even then. Still lying there, Enrico had the nerve to cry, "Mercy! Mercy! Your hamster ship!" Crusoe guffed. "If I were you, your hamster ship, I wouldn't eat me. I'm dietarily inadvisable. Too much cholesterol." And the pair of them clutched their tummies, shrieking with laughter. "Okay," I snapped. "You've had your fun. Now I want an answer. Where do I find Sir William?" "No, no!" With a grunt, Caruso grabbed one of the bars of the cage and hauled himself to his feet. "We can't let his hamster ship go without giving him a present. Know what I mean, partner?" "A song!" cried Enrico. "We'll send him on his way with a song." I tried to keep my cool. "Hey, listen, you guys. That's enough, okay? Tell me where Sir William is, and I'll leave you in peace." "Ha! Leave us in peace, will you? Great! But we won't leave you in peace, your hamster ship." Crusoe managed to look almost angry, and Enrico squeaked, "You listen to our song, we give you the info. Is it a deal?" What choice did I have? I nodded, and they launched into "All day long we sing our song." I was made to listen to every last verse. It became apparent as I watched them singing that they weren't being deliberately malicious. They simply thought their song the finest ever composed, and were eager to sing it. It never crossed their minds that someone like me might find it offensive. But that would not have made a difference. Far from it. Guinea pigs are not only impudent, uncouth, and gutless, they're conceited as well. The song came to an end at last. I was curious to know what else they'd cooked up for me. Well, I said with a self-control that surprised me, may I now be permitted to know Sir William's whereabouts? Enrico nodded. Sure. So where is he? Right behind you, said Crusoe. I spun around, and there sat Sir William, his green eyes glowing in the darkness. See you next time for Chapter 12. Bye for now.